I'm Vicky, Joint Chief Exec from Wiltshire Community Foundation. We're one of Wiltshire and Swindon's largest funders, providing grants and support to community groups and individuals throughout the county.
Hi, I'm James. I'm a partner at MHA Monahans. MHA is an association of accountancy firms across the country, and we work with lots and lots of charities and other not-for-profit organisations.
Hi James.
Hi Vicky.
Thanks for joining us today.
Pleasure.
So we're going to talk a little bit about gift aid. So firstly, can you tell us what is gift aid?
Okay, so if you're not aware of what gift aid is and you're a charity or a community amateur sports group, then it's definitely worth thinking about. Because the basic idea is that the government wants people to be able to donate money tax-free. And so in theory, as a charity or a community amateur sports group, you can reclaim the tax that people have paid on their donation, which is effectively 25 pence for every £1 donated. So it can be quite a significant amount.
So an extra 25p on every pound donated, that sounds incredibly helpful. Can a charity claim this on all of their income?
Unfortunately, no. There are sort of quite specific rules here. First of all, it can only really be claimed on voluntary income. And what I mean by that is that someone has given a donation is not going to get anything back in return. So, if you're selling services or items to people in public, unfortunately, you can't reclaim the money back on that. The other thing is that the person donating has to be a UK taxpayer, and the charity needs to be able to demonstrate this if it's going to reclaim the tax.
Okay, so I visited the Eden project a while ago, and they reclaimed gift aid on my entry fee. But surely that's not voluntary donation, because I'm able to go in there for a whole year now, and I have the enjoyment of the Eden project.
That is a really good question, and unfortunately taxation is never straightforward or clear cut, and that's a really good example of where there are certain things you can do around the edges which don't seem to sort of fit in with those rules. Now, there are very special circumstances where gift aid can be reclaimed and the donor is apparently getting something in return. One of those is that HMRC considers it okay for you to have access to a building or a piece of land for a given period in exchange for a donation. But there are very specific rules you have to follow. So you have to prove, for instance, that donation is at least 10% higher than the normal entry fee. And it also has to be the case that you then gain access for a whole year.
Okay. So it sounds like you can be quite creative in how you approach gift aid, and if you structure things correctly, then HMRC would see donations as voluntary donations.
That's not what I'm saying at all, and you have to be incredibly careful actually, not sort of go down that path. There are some interesting rules around the edges, like being able to access a building. Another one you may have heard of or seen is when you donate goods to a charity shop. Mm-hmm. Very often they say, do you want to gift aid it? And of course, actually what they're doing is selling items, but they've sort of set up a system where they sort of sell those items on your behalf and then donate the money. You then donate the money back to them. And again, there's some quite complicated hoops you need to jump through. You need to sort of make sure that it is very much a case that you are the agent, and part of that means writing to them and offering them to give the money back. So again, that's another sort of scheme you may have heard of, but you absolutely shouldn't sort of go ahead and start thinking of your own creative schemes. These have sort of taken lots of time by tax experts to kind of orchestrate, and if you've got any thoughts like this, by all means get some professional help, but please don't sort of go ahead and be really creative with your gift aid claims.
So are there any other conditions that charities should be aware of?
Absolutely. I think sort of one overarching principle is the donation should be in money. So you generally can't receive gift aid back for donated time or goods. And also gift aid can't be reclaimed where money is given under the payroll giving scheme, because again, tax will have been claimed automatically through the payroll.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that the charity needs to establish that the donor is a UK taxpayer. How do they go about that?
Actually, this is pretty straightforward. I mean, what you need to do as a charity is to get a signed gift aid declaration form. The wording for the declaration is quite specific. And so what we suggest is that you go to HMRC website and you can find some standard wording and you just sort of adapt that for your particular charity. And basically what the form is saying is that the donor is a UK taxpayer and they've paid enough tax equal to the amount that you're reclaiming from HMRC. So in theory, HMRC could go back to them if you've made a claim for tax and they haven't actually paid it. But the key point here is that you must make sure the form is initially set up compliant with HMRC's wording, and also that the charity has systems to store these forms should HMRC come and want to inspect your systems.
Okay. So who can sign a gift aid form? For instance, if a company makes a donation, who could sign the form on its behalf?
That's a really good question. So actually, companies are slightly different. Companies can give tax-free, but the tax is all sorted out in their annual corporation tax return. So as a charity, you wouldn't be able to go back to HMRC and reclaim that tax directly. The company would take care of that itself. Funnily enough though, partnerships, they can sign a gift aid form because they don't pay corporation tax, and it is just a collection of individuals paying personal tax. So you can reclaim for a partnership, and in that situation, any of the partners or anyone authorised to sign the form would be absolutely fine.
Okay. You mentioned earlier that HMRC can sometimes inspect charities who make gift aid claims. Why is that?
Well, when you make a gift aid claim, HMRC only make very limited checks. And the idea is they don't want there to be long delays in you getting the money, because often the gift aid can be a really useful source for charities. So what they do is they have a system where they pick a sample of charities annually and they go out and they do an audit. And the audit will want to make sure that it is a cash donation. So they'll be looking at things like your bank statements to see the cash coming in. And also that you've got this audit trail of gift aid forms. What they will then do is that at the end of the audit, if they do feel that tax has been overclaimed, they can come to the charity and ask for repayments with interest added. So it's absolutely essential to get these things right.
Okay, so it seems like gift aid could be really useful for some charities, but it also seems a complex area. So if charities would like to learn more about it and the circumstances that they would claim gift aid, what can they do? Absolutely,
there's some really useful guidance out there. So we'll put some links at the end of this video. HMRC have a number of pages which can explain you how to sort of set these things up. And also, we find the Charity Tax Group is an excellent resource. They tend to sort of word things in a way which is slightly easier to follow. And again, we'll put a link at the end of this video.
That's brilliant. Thanks so much for joining us today, James, to talk about gift aid.
Thank you, pleasure.
Thanks.
I'd like to say a huge thank you to the Platform Project for helping us produce these videos, and also to MHA Monahans for all of their support.
And a massive thank you to the Wiltshire Community Foundation for their continuing support of the sector.
I'd like to say a massive thank you to Reuban and his team at the Platform Project for helping produce these videos. There'll be a link to some of Reuban's other work in the description box.